This is an ODB Films production. Visit odbfilms.com today.
In Latin, Renovo means to renew, restore, or revive. This show is all about growing in our understanding and practice of faith. Past episodes are available wherever you like to listen to podcasts. I'm Doug Tuke, the Vice President of Ministry Advancement at ODB Films, and today we look at the scapular. And like I mentioned earlier in my live Facebook video recording of this Renovo, which is kind of fun to do, we did do a show on the scapular earlier on in the season, but I really wanted to redo it. I just think it's a time to talk about protection, what it means, why it means what it means, and I'm excited about it. So we're going to dig through it. It's actually a fairly quick show. Usually we end up around 20 minutes, but this show is going to be a little bit shorter than that. The scapular is exciting, but there's only so many things I could do to make it exciting. So this is the best I could do. So the scapular, which is the two small pieces of wool that most people think of when they hear the word, it's a sacramental based. It's sacramental, by the way, means holy object, a sacramental based on a really important piece of the monastic habit. So a true scapular in the original use of the word is a piece of cloth about shoulder width that's worn over the shoulders and falls not quite to the wearer's feet. That's what the original was. Now, it's the most important garment for those in monastic orders and has also been adopted by non-monastic religious orders for both male and female. Some of you might wear a scapular, which is pretty cool. Now, in the past, the scapular also had bands on the arm, connecting the front and the back panel of the fabric and then forming a cross over the body and the person who wears it. That's the originals. Now, this style of scapular is sometimes still used today, but not nearly as common. So for this reason, the scapular was also simply called a crux, meaning cross. And you might have seen that reference at some point when you were seeking one out to wear it. So the scapular is meant to be symbolic of an apron, indicating the wearer's readiness and willingness to serve. The scapular is a symbolic and not really a practical apron. It's based on the point in the St. Benedict's rule where he specifically says that it's to be worn for work. It's a working garment, which is kind of cool to think about spiritually. Benedict uses a non-specific word for work here when he talks about it in the order, not the word for manual work or labor, which he uses in other parts of the rule, just so you know, and not the word specific to God's work, which he also uses in other parts of the rule to include prayer. So it's believed that scapulare propter opera, scapular for work, means a scapular to be worn always, whether while at prayer or while doing manual labor. That's where it comes from. Now, in the Middle Ages, it was common for the lay faithful to join religious orders in an affiliate sense as a tertiary. And this actually goes back to a lot of Irish history as well. There would be like tertiary members of the monasteries for protection, quite frankly, from attacking people, mostly Vikings. What do you do? So since some did not take full vows, they would not wear the full habit. So some others who took private vows would wear almost the full habit, but not the full thing. Now, the non-monastic or not taking full vows would be granted a reduced scapular to wear. And this was the two pieces of wool, about 2 inches by 3 inches each, held together by a band or a cord and worn over the shoulder with one rectangle in front and one in back, more like the modern version of the scapular. Still a little bit larger than the devotional scapular worn by Catholics today. The shape and the small size of the scapular is closest in appearance to what we wear today, but still this was a little bit different. And they are still often worn by tertiary members of the Franciscan, Carmelite, and Dominican orders, which is kind of cool. So that's still out there, a little bit bigger than what you would wear at home. Okay, so also called simply the brown scapular, the small scapular is most well known. This is the one that we almost all know well, or some of us even wear. It's the earliest form of the devotional scapular. And what I want to get into now is I want to get into the details of the blessings and the certain things that sort of come with it through the tradition, which is pretty cool. So here's the thing. Now, the same line as the phrase, the Feast of the Scapular, refers to the Feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. That is the origins, okay? So a lot of pious traditions holds that the Blessed Virgin appeared to St. Simon's Stock on July 16th, 1251 in England with a scapular in her hand and said to him, quote, "Take, beloved son, this scapular of thy order as a badge of my confraternity, and for thee and all Carmelites a special sign of grace. Whoever dies in this garment will not suffer everlasting fire. It is the sign of salvation, a safeguard in dangers, a pledge of peace, and of the covenant." Okay, that's the origin. This is a Mother Mary saying to St. Simon, be protected, take this. Mary gives us some pretty specific directions when it comes to prayer, so it's good to talk about this one in particular. Okay, now according to the Catholic Encyclopedia, these precise words of Our Lady only appeared in written form in the year 1642 in a document that said that these words had been dictated by Simon to his secretary and confessor. Now, just so you know, okay, historical documents cannot support the exact details or words. We don't know, right? But the content is tradition, and it's held to be pretty reliable by the church. So that's to say that, listen, it's pretty credible that Our Lady assured St. Simon Stock in a supernatural way her special protection over his whole order and all who would wear the Carmelite habit, indirectly extending to all of us Christian faithful, right, who wear the scapular as a badge of devotion, even if we cannot place the exact words. Mary is still saying, do this. This is important. So there are graces that come with the scapular, and there's kind of these specific conditions for receiving the graces of the scapular. And here's what they are. The promise of the following conditions, they're typically associated with a vision and bull of Pope John the 22nd. Okay, the bull that was written has been handed down since the 1400s, which was never mentioned for over 100 years after its supposed writing in 1322, and there's no record of such a document existing in the writings of Pope John the 22nd, but it has been generally assumed that the text of the bull is not like an authentic text to him, but actually kind of promises and conditions that are valid, and lots of different popes have given the Carmelites permission to preach them specifically. So a pope recognized this is a blessing and a gift. It's not like in documents that you could go find today, like what is the exact blessing, but this is the tradition that the Carmelites promulgate. Okay, here are the conditions. You wear the brown scapular continuously, and this involves being enrolled in the brown scapular confraternity. Look that up online. It's kind of cool. Observe chastity according to one's state in life. Okay, so if you're procreating, right, that makes sense. Like if you're married, right? Okay. Recite daily the little office of the Blessed Virgin. Look that up. It's kind of cool. Or observe the required fast of the church, as well as abstaining for meat on Wednesday and Saturday. Or recite the rosary daily. Or, with permission, substitute some other good work. Obviously, the scapular is not a get out of hell or purgatory free card, but it is an awesome blessing. So it's an invitation for you to be drawn into prayer and experience. Okay. All right. So now there are lots of different forms of the scapular. There's different colors and there's different sizes. So let's talk about those. Now, the scapular of Our Lady of Mount Carmel should be brown, though black is acceptable as well, but it's got to be wool. Wool is specific to it. You should feel it up against your body. To have an image of Our Lady presenting the scapular to St. Simon Stock on the scapular itself is very common, but the scapular may also be blank, just so you know. It's also common to have an inscription of Our Lady's promise on the scapular, so it may also have other images on it. For example, there are brown scapulae, the singular of scapulars, I guess, apparently, that specifically have images of Our Lady of Guadalupe, the Sacred Heart, St. Charbel, St. Benedict, and lots of others. So they're very different, okay? Now, though the brown scapular, like we said, is the most popular or most common, there are a bunch of approved scapulae, that faithful Catholics wear. Here they are. The green scapular, and this scapular is also called the scapular of the Immaculate Heart. It's not a true scapular in that it is one single woolen square. It is one single woolen square, not two. However, it is a sacramental. And so it is a scapular in the devotional sense. And it is the only scapular that does not need to be worn, but can be carried. It can come on a green cord to be worn, or may also come on like a loop. You can put on your bag, put in your pocket. The scapular may be given in faith to someone you want to be cured or converted. That's specifically, it's a token of reminder. I'm praying for you. Keep holiness at the center of your life. Kind of cool. The giver of the scapular must continue to pray daily to the Immaculate Heart of Mary after giving the scapular. So if you want to give a scapular, a great way to do that is a green one, to say, I'm praying for you. This is pretty common with catechumenates and things like that. It's a tradition in the church. Pretty cool. All right. The white scapular. This is another scapular associated with the Immaculate Heart of Mary. However, this scapular is white wool, and it's associated with the Sons of the Immaculate Heart. The front of it depicts the image of the burning heart of Mary, out of which grows a lily, and it's circled with a wreath of roses. You might have seen that image before. It's traditionally associated with the white scapular. The Trinity scapular This is a small white scapular with a red and blue cross, and it's connected to the confraternity of the Most Blessed Trinity and tertiaries, like we talked about before, of that order. So the order's founder, St. John de Mata, had a vision during his first mass of 2 Christian captives, one of whom held a staff with a red and blue cross on top. And from that vision, St. John knew he was totally destined to work among captives for their redemption specifically. So tradition also holds that in 1198, an angel wearing a white garment with a blue and red cross appeared to Pope Innocent III. We did a show on Innocent III. Check that out. What a pope. My goodness. Closest thing to like a world ruler of a pope you've ever seen. He subsequently approved the order of the Trinitarians. That's where that one comes from. That's the Trinity scapular. The blue scapular is also known as the scapular of the Immaculate Conception, and it's associated with Venerable Ursula Benincasa, who's the founder of the Theatines of the Immaculate Conception and was approved by Pope Clement X in 1671. You're getting your history today. So it is now also associated with St. Bernadette and the miraculous apparitions at Lourdes because Our Lady said to the girl, I am the Immaculate Conception. So there are plenary indulgences that are attached to this devotion with the scapular under all the ordinary conditions of a plenary indulgence. That's the blue scapular, just so you know. The Sacred Heart scapular or scapulae, there's 2 sacramentals bearing the name of Sacred Heart scapular. So one is a lot like the green one. It's actually a sacramental badge. It is a wearable image of the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which was promoted by St. Mary Margaret Alcoque, and it may or may not be wool. You can find those at different kinds of bookstores. The other is a true scapular associated with the missionaries of the Sacred Heart. Now, one side of that one bears an image of the heart of Jesus and the heart of Mary in their traditional representations, and then the other, an image of Jesus on the cross, the instruments of passion at his feet. Okay, so the scapular must be made of red wool, and the bands connecting the 2 squares must be red woolen material as well, specific to the Sacred Heart. And this scapular is also called the red scapular or of the Passion, or simply the Passion scapular. You may have seen that one before. I know there's tons of these. I didn't even know these existed. They're kind of cool. There's a black scapular. This scapular is associated with the Servite Order and the 7 Sorrows of Mary. It's black wool. It has an image of Our Lady of Sorrows on the front piece, and the scapular was supposed to be worn constantly. If you wish to gain sort of the blessings of that, of the confraternity, the folks that pray for this, it must be invested to one by a priest from the Servite Order. So you're supposed to have a Servite Order bless that scapular and give it to you to receive the blessings of that order, who prays for those who wear it, which is pretty cool. The 5-fold scapular. This is kind of cool. The 5-fold scapular is also called the 5-way scapular, and it's a Redemptorist sacramental. The Redemptorist priests are amazing. It's a combination of 5 of the most popular scapulars: brown, black, blue, Trinity, white, and red Passion scapulars. All together, the Redemptorists are way into scapulars. They pray for you. That's pretty cool. That's a lot of wool, but you do what you can. The scapular of St. Michael is a thing. This scapular, it's traditionally, it's in the shape of a small shield, though it can also be a standard rectangle. You can see those all the time. And it's made of blue and black woolen cloth, and it's connected to the arch confraternity of the scapular of St. Michael and depicts St. Michael triumphing over Satan. That's a pretty cool one, especially today. Everybody's running around so afraid. This is a great thing to invite St. Michael's prayers. Other devotional scapulars include the Passion scapular, the Mercadarian scapular. There's also the scapular of Our Lady of Mercy. And finally, there is a scapular medal, and this is a big deal. So a lot of people, like I have a family, the Holy Family medal that I wear that was given to me by my brother-in-law. I was blessed in Jerusalem, but a lot of times we wear medals around our necks. And so in 1910, Pope Pius X approved the medallion form of the scapular to wear up against your body. Might be something that you guys consider. It bears an image of the Sacred Heart on one side, the Blessed Mother on the other, and it may be worn or carried in place of a cloth scapular under certain special circumstances by a person already invested with a scapular. So these special circumstances would include situations where wearing a non-metal scapular would be impractical, say in case of a swimmer or in doing work, which could damage or destroy a cloth scapular. Just something to think of. Finally, here's some scapular trivia. Here's the thing. A scapular it's different than any other sacramental when it comes to blessings, which is kind of cool. You think about medals and items that relics, things like that are designed for special blessings. But a scapular is totally different. Now, typically, you'll ask a priest to bless objects like a rosary, statue, your car, your pets, whatever. And when you're invested in the scapular, you receive the blessing, not the scapular. Anytime you need to replace the scapular, you just get a new one. You receive the blessing for the scapular one time and commit to living it. It's different than any other kind of object. So you don't need to get it blessed because you're already blessed. You're the object. The scapular is the reminder to pray and invite the Lord into your life. So awesome, right? All right. Hey, there it is. More than you ever wanted to know about scapulars. And for all you audio listeners out there, we are filming this live on Facebook Live, which is kind of fun. First time we've ever done this for a Renovo episode. If you're a Renovo listener, you get to see this live, which is kind of fun. But I'm super excited that you tuned in, and I'm also excited for all of you folks that listen. Thanks for listening. Sincerely, we are partners in the journey of faith. I really hope you'll share the Renovo podcast with friends and foes. I love topic suggestions. ODB Films is totally committed to continuing this incredible podcast, but we love your topic suggestions. Let us know what you want us to talk about. Also, don't be afraid to go on iTunes and write a review. Reviews make a huge difference in how you can get other people to access the podcast, and we want to share it with as many people as possible. Send your topic suggestions, questions, and/or comments to me, to Doug at odbfilms.com. Always remember to engage the tradition and live the conversion. Until next time, God bless.